All right, welcome back. Part 3 on SCA's Sensory Skill Foundation course. Picking up here, we need to talk a little bit about the Lainez de Café and aromas, categories of coffee aromas, and some of the areas or some of the places and reasons these may develop or why we might find them in coffee. So you should familiarize yourself with the 4 broad categories that you can see on roasting tasting wheels and the flavor wheel with 3 color spectrums. And then remember when and how various aromas are developed in the growing and the roast process. So for the sake of copyright, I did not include copies of the 4 posters produced above. You can see in the bottom left picture. But you can search SCA Flavor Wheel and the SCA Art of Perception in Coffee. And then you can certainly find some great online versions. You can go to the SCA website and order them for yourself or for your cafe. And start to narrow down these 4 broad families. We have those 4 families listed up there on the flavor or on those posters. And specifically the colors on the flavor wheel, which you'll see often yellow, red, purple, or reddish brown, is enzymatic. Okay, so that's the yellow. And then the sugar browning would be the red brown, and dry distillation, typically purple. So different aromas that might develop from terroir or processing methods would be those that are enzymatic. Okay, so when we have flowery, fruity, herbal, you'll see different descriptors from the flavor wheel, honey and lemon, some of the different, I don't have it right in front of me here, but some of these different flowery, fruity, and herbal enzymatic, this is a category. And so the first level of your understanding and you're beginning to process these sensory skills is just identifying those families. Okay, so don't go straight for the jasmine or the honeysuckle or the the lemon. Just go straight, or just go to enzymatic and then try to say, is this a flowery enzymatic, or is it more fruity, or is it more herbal? And working from the center of the flavor wheel out is a good method for all people as they're tasting, because like we said before, you have detection, recognition, and then intensity of the experience, the taste, the aroma. So then what aromas develop from the roasting process? These are chemical reactions that create the aromas, okay? So as we continue to roast those beans and they change to brown and darker color, sugar browning starts to kick in. And so you can follow that roasting, or you can follow the flavor wheel from yellow, brown, purple, and that kind of follows the roasting process just in terms of what can develop next as the roasting continues. And so sugar browning, nutty, caramel, chocolatey, etc. And then as you continue to roast other things, dry distillation, this will be your terpene, spicy, smoke, carbon-like, those things will develop even later in the roast, the purple dry distillation area. And then what aromas arise from improper roasting? So that would be the 4th poster. And if you're looking at a twin flavor wheel, it would be one on the left. So those would be things like aromatic taints. Okay, so woody or paper or ash. This would be improper bean storage, degraded green coffee quality, improper roasting, improper processing. Okay, so then you get those aromatic taints, the woody, paper, ash, etc. Alright, so that's definitely an area that gives a lot of people fear, especially the Lainez de Café, the 36 aroma vials, and getting a chance to practice on those is awesome. Again, starting from the families and moving outward. So is this enzymatic? Is this flowery? Is this fruity? Is this herbal? Or is this nutty? Is this brown sugar, caramels, or is this dry distillation? Those are the ways that you first start, and then narrow down specifically. All right, cupping protocol. There's a lot to say here, a couple slides, and we'll try to get through this quickly here. Cupping protocol offers a controlled way to assess coffee using scientific and strict protocols. Again, we said humans are a measuring instrument. This is the protocol to help control. So it doesn't matter if we're on a farm in Guatemala, if we're in our coffee home country in a cafe, or we're in a roastery doing quality control. If we follow the same protocols, we're all humans, same basic materials, okay? Same basic equipment. Cupping provides us descriptors to identify potential defects or taints. We can identify those pleasant flavors, quality attributes. It helps us to standardize quality by evaluating and giving voice to the intensity and then the sensory characteristics. All right, so Ted Lingle in 2001 gave us a great definition that we hold on to today. Coffee cupping is a method used to systematically evaluate the aroma and taste characteristics of a sample of coffee beans. Again, coffee cupping is a method used to systematically evaluate the aroma and taste characteristics of a sample of coffee beans. Now, one important note for the SCA standard cupping protocol is how many cups to use. I know this picture up here has 3, it's a triangulation, but the SCA calls for 5. Okay, so disregard the photo. I apologize about that. That was just basic roastery quality control. We were triangulating. But the SCA protocol for scoring coffees and using the cupping form should have a 5-cup coffee sample. So what's needed? How do you prepare a table? Up here we have table setup and just a quick list of the supplies you'll need. And these are available anywhere in the world. Cupping bowls, cupping spoons, a rinsing bowl with hot water, a timer, pre-weighed beans in separate bowls, and this is important. You want it to plus or minus 0.1 gram. So very accurately pre-weighed into the bowls. A small portion of beans set to the side of that variety for rinsing the grinder in between varieties, or purging the grinder. You'll need hot water for wetting the coffee grounds, and we'll get on the next slide some of these specifics, and then sample coating sheets. So you want to do this blind. You don't want to know exactly where the Colombia is and where the Kenya is. You want to be able to taste these coffees objectively and blindly. So let me ask, should we have the bag of beans, like an extra bean bowl on the table so that we can look at the beans? No. Do you need to have some green bean samples on the table so that we can understand what it was like before it was roasted? No. Do you need a sample of the ground coffee so that you can look at it other than the cupping? No. Do you need thermometers? You shouldn't need them on the table. If the water was prepared properly at the water station or at the boiler, then you should be ready to go. The goal of cupping and the table setup is to minimize distractions, so removing anything that's extraneous or extra is a goal. Alright, this is the last slide, and I'll read some of the cupping parameters here. And you should make note of some of these things. Some of them are also for future reference, but attend your ear to them, and some will pop up on the exam at the professional level. Okay, so first let's look at the slide. We've got to prepare our equipment and set up the table. Okay, step 1. You'll be expected to do this on your practical exam. You'll weigh the beans out individually by bowl. Okay, so you're not going to grind the coffee and then just kind of put the coffee in bowls, because that'll mix together any inconsistencies or any defects. You'll individually weigh the bowls within 1/10 of a gram, and then you'll grind the coffee, cleansing the grinder between each set or sample. Okay, so you can grind the set of 5. You don't have to clean the grinder in between each bowl. You should grind it thoroughly, but if you do switch from that Colombia to the Kenya, from set 1 to set 2, then you're going to have to cleanse in between that. You don't want the former Colombia affecting the first cup of the Kenya, and so on. You'll assess the dry coffee fragrance. Okay, so once everything's ground and on the table, once you begin, everyone's going to have a chance to smell the dry coffee fragrance. You want to do this as quickly as possible. Prepare your 93°C water, and then you should start pouring your water within 15 minutes of the grind. Okay, so then you'll assess the wet coffee aroma. So notice we had dry coffee fragrance versus wet coffee aroma. This is intentional language. And then you're going to break the coffee. Typically we do it at 4 minutes, but you know, there may be another standard. Within 3 to 5 minutes of adding the water is mandatory, but we typically use a 4-minute goal. Then we clean the cups, the top of the coffee, by removing coffee that floats on top of the brew. We assess the coffee by slurping it, and this is usually done 5 to 8 minutes, even 10 minutes after the break, so that the coffee has time to cool. We're not burning our taste buds, and also the flavors can be more easily perceived. So some of the different parameters here, we've got a sample roast parameter. So those sample coffees should be roasted very standard. That way we're always roasting them, again, no matter what country we're in or otherwise, and that's typically an 8 to 12 minute roast. So don't go too long, don't go too fast. And it should be a cupping roast that scores a 60 to 65 on the Agtron scale. And so that's a coloration. And then roasted within 8 to 24 hours of the cupping. So usually we roast today, we cup tomorrow. Or we roast early in the morning and we cup later, although most people don't like to cup late in the day because our bodies and our tongues get tired through the day. Water parameters, I said 93 degrees, 92 to 95 is acceptable, and that's right around 93 degrees is right around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. We grind the coffee at a medium coarse grind, so it's a little under a French press, something that you might use for a pour over. It's 850 microns if you have a micron measurement. Lab conditions, it should be comfortable, quiet, odor-free, fully lit, and non-distracting. Again, we want to focus on the coffee, so we control temperatures and humidity. It's usually under 20 degrees Celsius, and it's about 60% relative humidity. Now, important on the right here is our coffee to water ratio. This is how we can prepare anywhere in the world with any kind of equipment. If you're in a cafe, you can use a cappuccino cup. If you're at home, you can use a small bowl. If you're in China, you can use a rice bowl, right? But the important thing is that your coffee to water ratio is 1 to 18. So for 150 milliliters of water, you divide that by 18 and calculate you need 8.25 grams of coffee. Now the great thing about using the metric system is that 1 milliliter of water equals 1 gram of water. So then if you had a 200 milliliter cupping bowl or cappuccino cup, that would be a big cappuccino cup, 200 milliliters of water would require 11 grams of coffee. So you can do the math and you just measure out beforehand what a full cup or bowl looks like and prepare it. This is the end. I hope you enjoyed today's content, part 1, 2, and 3, and thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned and be sure to share this content if you enjoyed it. Leave some comments, share it with a friend. We've got information on our website and YouTube at SCA Coffee English. We've got some of the materials, not all of them, on Youku. If you're in China, you can scan these QR codes and find us on WeChat or on Youku. You can find me. Keep up the great work, and like we say in China, 加油, goodbye, 再见.